with Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of War, Defense, Bourbon, he's bombing people out in the oceans. Trump is calling for U.S. citizens to be executed. Aren't we really just one step away from when the next George Floyd protest happens? Trump is just going to authorize people to be shot in the street. I don't think that's a real leap, and I'm sort of slack-jawed at people who think that that would never happen. I think before Trump is over, American citizens will be shot dead in the street somewhere.
It's happening now. If you look at what ICE is doing, that's exactly what they're doing. They are kidnapping people, they are shooting people. There are people who don't think it will happen to them. They think it will happen to other people.
All right, let's go, Squeaky. Let's hear what you got to say on this.
I think that you're absolutely right. I think that it will take something like a George Floyd moment, but here's where we differ. I think that people are going to start to stand up, and I think you can just sort of look at the Mark Kelly example right now and see that people are thinking that that is a bridge too far. And I think the shooting of the two people in the water, I think that military people really think that's a bridge too far. And I think that we're going to see Pete Hegseth throw that admiral under the bus. And then I think other people are going to start to see that, oh my goodness, my time is limited because if anything happens, there is no one to protect me. So I think that it may, in fact, be some kind of turning point.
Do you really though? How many times have we said, "Oh, people are waking up. Oh, they're seeing it. They're seeing it. They're seeing it." And then when it reaches a critical head, enough people fall in line that nothing changes. I mean, Kristi Noem's not going to stand up to him. Hegseth's not going to stand up to him. Rubio's not going to stand up to him. I mean, when you've got the people at the top of government saying we have all the power and we stand behind anything that this president decides to do, what difference are these cracks going to make? Because I feel like I've been baited to this moment numerous times since 2016, where we start to hear, and so it begins, the downfall of Trump. And he just gives a big middle finger to authority, to law, to the Constitution, and does what he wants anyway.
I think that what you said is true. And I think that the what we have to do though is we have to fight that notion and people have to keep on doing stuff every day.
Yeah.
Like every day you wake up and you figure out what it is that you can do. When it comes to MAGA, everybody isn't MAGA. There's only about 35% of the population that's actually MAGA. The rest of them are just go alongs. And we have not talked to those people about what is actually happening. We have an assumption that they understand what's happening, but they really don't. But they will turn, and some of them have already started to turn when they start to see things. But it is up to us. It is up to the Democratic Party. It is up to every individual to talk to their friend, their family, their neighbor, to work to help them see what's actually happening. Because there is a bigger story here.
It's up to us to keep pushing our narrative.
Well, I'd like to agree.
You just got to find something something to do other than laugh at my voice. But here's the thing. You are so talented. So you should be on Substack. You have fire when you speak. When you have subject matter that you're passionate about. You don't know which of those things is going to ignite people's spirits. You don't know which of those things is going to move people. So you can't sit still. You got to do stuff.
We have an impact, so much greater impact on people we actually know. And we know a lot of people. And I think one thing I'd like, I was just reminded of is that when I was still a registered Republican and people talked to me, I often dismissed what they said, but I didn't forget it. Those things were in my brain percolating.
Spoke to you
So,
directly, you mean?
oh, yes, about all sorts of issues where we did not agree. When I kind of, in my head, sort of dismissed them a little, but it stayed with me. And gradually, all this accumulation, as you know, to go back to what we were saying before, all of these little cracks, eventually, they all add up. And so just because we hear or perceive it's a no or it's a rejection or whatever doesn't necessarily mean that we haven't actually moved the needle a little bit. I think that that's really important. The other thing that I think is really important is I often look at this as sales from a sales perspective. Let me explain. So in sales, a lot of times the way you can move forward when you're getting a lot of no's is to realize with each no, I'm that much closer to my next yes. And unless you know that there are going to be statistically a certain number of no's, so every time there's a no, or every time there's a person who kind of shuts you down or rejects you, or whatever the thing is, you just tell yourself, that's all right. Awesome. That's fantastic. Come on, next one, next one, next one. Like you're just looking for that next one. But if we don't actually start the conversations at all, if we don't talk to anybody, we're never going to get to the yes. We're never going to get to the person. We're never going to put those cracks in. We're never going to spark someone to go home later and think about that conversation.
You know, I'm listening to what you're saying, and it makes so much sense to me because when I think about my painting, I describe it in these terms. I got to get 5 or 6 bad paintings out. I don't mean bad, but fall short to get to that 6th or 7th one that really knocks it out of the park. And it's just like anything else. If you can think about it in terms of learning to play the piano, you're going to stumble for a long time. Learning to be a painter, you're going to stumble for a long time, but only through stumbling do you reach the point where you can actually be effective. And if you can look at speaking to people in the same way and just anticipate, I'm going to get a lot of no's, I'm going to get a lot of rejection, I'm going to get a lot of people that are going to walk past me and blow me off with their hand, and I'm not going to take it personally because this has meaning to me. So I'm with you. I'm with you. Do I need to go just speak to Republicans? Do I need to just go
No,
find a bunch of flag waving Republicans on a street corner and like get in there? Because those
No.
are the,
we
aren't
have
those
plenty.
the minds I need to change? I can talk to other Democrats all day and all
Yeah,
night, but we're going
so
to find
plenty.
common ground.
Well, plenty of them are probably already in your family. Most, most people, listen, we had this conversation earlier, and I said, Black people, for the most part, we can look at the statistics and know that 80% of us are going to be voting Democrat. But then there's still issues inside the Democratic Party that we talk about that we may disagree on. But for white people, we know that statistically, most white people vote Republican. So when you go to Thanksgiving dinner or you're out with family and friends, you have a big opportunity. There's probably going to be Republicans in your family and in some of your friends. But here's the really interesting thing. A lot of them may not be MAGA. They just may have voted Republican all their lives. And this is where this whole character thing comes in, that where I think we have to shift the narrative about whether it's a Democrat or Republican. We have to shift the narrative to, listen, we before, if a Republican won an office, you were just like, okay, well, next time, because you knew that there would be some policies and things that you would disagree with, but people were going to come together and discuss stuff. That is not the party today. That is a whole different animal that we haven't really been able to get to people to say, wait a minute, this is something really, really different. This is not the party that you know about. And if you want to get it back, there's just some steps you're going to have to take. Republicans have not shown you that they're willing to get the party back that they've known. So you have to do something different. How do you do that? You can't do that by voting Republican. And so there's just some cycles. To vote Democrat doesn't mean that you're a Democrat. It means that you're trying to figure out how to win the country back. And we haven't had narratives to explain that, to
Wow.
tell people that we're not telling them to lose who they are. But what we're trying to say is that based on this narrative about what this Project 2025 and these people who call themselves Republicans are trying to do, it's not the party that you knew. Not Democrat, not Republican. It's just a moral arc that we have to get back to.
I never thought about going to a Republican and saying, I know you're not a MAGA thinker, but you're never going to get the party that you want back if you continue to support it right now. So, as Democrats, I have withdrawn my support from people that I supported, people in my party. I have actively blasted people for doing things that I thought were wrong and against the principles that they claimed to stand for. I'm ready to withhold support and vote. I am not a blind Democrat. It makes sense that there are Republicans out there who feel the same way, that might feel convinced to either vote once for the other side or to not vote in that election at all.
It's
That's exactly
providing
right.
them with the permission structure to change their mind. It's providing them with the permission to say, you didn't vote for this. I bet,
You didn't
you
vote for
didn't
this.
want this.
You didn't want
And
this.
it's also affirming their morality, their ethical, going to their core values. It is affirming to say, you would never have voted to blow these people out of the water. You would never. That is not what you stand for, right?
Yeah.
When you do that, that allows them, it reminds them of who they are. And no, that's not what they voted for. That's not what they wanted.
Yeah.
That can I just speak to that? The way you have reframed the argument there, which I think a lot of people would say, look what your party's doing. Look what you voted for. You're blowing people out of the water. You're taking away health care from people, right? People can't eat because they don't have the food assistance that they need, and you voted for it. And you're saying, switch that around and say, I know you. This isn't what you wanted. This isn't what you voted for. This isn't what you were hoping from your political party, but that's what they're doing. So what are you going to do now? Are you going to continue now that you know that they're doing this? The next election comes. Do you give them your vote again? And I think that is legitimate, as you say, permission structure. It would make me rethink that if someone came to me and came at me about things that my party does. I'd be like, yeah, you're right. I don't like what my party's doing. I'm not going to blindly give them my vote.